I was born into the warmth of the den, where the earth smelled of damp soil, and the air was thick with my mother's scent. As I lay there wrapped in the soft fur of my mother, I could hear her gentle breathing, her protective presence wrapping me in a sense of safety. My siblings, barely distinguishable from me in the dim light of the den, wriggled around, seeking warmth. My world was small, but it was all I knew. Though my vision was clouded and my legs weak, I knew instinctively that I was not alone in this world. I could sense my mother's presence, the steady thrum of her heartbeat, the comforting pressure of her body nearby. Outside, the wind howled, and the cold would creep into the den. But here, in this small hidden corner of the forest, I felt safe. I was still fragile, barely aware of my surroundings, but already my instincts began to stir. In the safety of the den, I felt the first tug of curiosity. But I remained here, nestled against my mother for the time being. The world outside, I knew, was filled with dangers. It was a place where only the strong survived, and I was yet weak. But every moment in the den, I felt myself growing. Just a little bit stronger, just a little bit more aware. Days passed in what felt like an eternal haze, until one day, something shifted. The warmth of my mother's body beside me was replaced with the cold, dry air of the den's entrance. I felt the pull to leave, to step out into the world beyond, yet something deep inside held me back. There was fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of leaving the comfort of what I had known. But instinct was a powerful force, and it guided me forward. My mother nudged me, her rough tongue brushing my fur, a sign that it was time to leave the safety of the den. I stumbled over the uneven ground, my small paws unable to find purchase at first. The world outside was vast, far larger than I could have imagined. The trees towered above me, the sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above, casting shadows across the forest floor. It was both beautiful and terrifying. The smells of the forest filled my senses, and the wind tugged at my fur, its chill a reminder of the dangers waiting. I was no longer a helpless pup in the safety of the den. I was stepping into a new world, one that demanded strength, one where every step I took would shape the future of my life. I could sense the presence of my mother, not far behind me, guiding me, watching over me. But I knew, even then, that I had to start finding my own path, the path of survival. As the days turned into weeks, my body grew stronger. The pangs of hunger became a familiar sensation. My mother and the pack would go on hunts, and I watched them, eager to learn. My first hunting lesson didn't come in the form of a real kill, but a practice, following the adults, mimicking their every move. The forest was alive with the scent of prey, but my limbs were still too weak to catch anything. Instead, I learned patience. I watched my mother as she moved silently through the trees, her body coiled and tense, ready to pounce. She was a predator, sharp-eyed, focused, and swift. I followed her closely, my tiny paws attempting to mimic her precise steps. But I was clumsy, my movements awkward. There was no shame in it. I was still young, still learning. The adults taught me more than just the hunt. They taught me the importance of teamwork. A wolf doesn't hunt alone. It's a dance. A carefully orchestrated act of cooperation and trust. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself growing stronger, faster, more adept at blending into the shadows. The forest no longer felt as threatening. I had learned to move silently, to sense when prey was near, and when to remain still. The art of survival was not just about speed. It was about patience, cunning, and timing. It was about knowing when to strike and when to wait. One day, during a practice run, I pounced. My target, a small hare, was faster than I had anticipated, and I missed. I didn't care. The thrill of the chase was enough for me to feel the first rush of success. I had tried. In trying, I realized, was the first step toward survival. The forest was full of dangers. Some I could see, and some I could not. I had already encountered predators in the wild, but nothing quite like the sudden appearance of the mountain lion. I had seen them from afar, their sleek bodies moving silently through the underbrush. But this time, it was different. The lion had spotted me, and it was closing in. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears, the sudden rush of fear overtaking me. My instinct screamed at me to run, to flee, but I froze. I was still too young, not yet strong enough to defend myself. But my mother was there, and with a single low growl, she signaled me to retreat. She was the protector, the guardian of the pack, and her power was evident in every movement. She charged at the lion, her body low to the ground, a blur of fur and strength. The lion hesitated, recognizing the threat, and retreated into the shadows. That moment marked the beginning of my understanding of the wild. It was a place where every step could be your last, where danger lurked in every corner. But it was also a place where survival depended on strength, on knowledge, and on the ability to adapt. My mother's actions taught me that bravery was not just about strength. It was about understanding the dangers around you and responding accordingly. As the seasons changed, so did the forest. The forest had always been a place of refuge, a home where the pack could roam freely. But now, it was becoming more difficult to navigate. The sounds of chainsaws and machines became more frequent. The scent of burning wood more pronounced. Humans were invading our territory. They were destroying the forests, cutting down the trees that provided us with shelter, and polluting the rivers that sustained us. I could sense the danger long before we encountered it. The humans were a constant threat. But they didn't hunt like the other predators. Their presence was different. It was invasive, destructive. They didn't just take what they needed to survive. They took everything. Their machines roared through the forest, uprooting trees, leaving nothing but a wasteland behind. We were forced to adapt. The pack moved farther into the forest, avoiding the humans when we could, but they always seemed to be one step ahead. We were losing our home, the only place we'd ever known. The humans had become our greatest threat, not because they were stronger, but because they were relentless, indifferent to the world they were destroying. They didn't care for the forest. They didn't care for us. Years passed and I grew older. My fur was no longer as thick, and my body wasn't as fast as it used to be. But my mind was sharp, and I had learned what it took to survive. I had seen the pack grow, and I had seen them fall. The forest was no longer the same. The once vibrant landscape had become quieter, emptier, as more and more of the forest was destroyed. The sound of chainsaws had become a constant companion. The trees were falling faster than we could adapt. One day I sat at the edge of the clearing watching the sunset. The world felt different now. Heavier, as if something was missing. The world had changed and we were no longer the rulers of the forest. The humans had taken that from us. I had fought hard for the pack, for the forest, but now it felt like we were losing the battle. I gave one final howl, a sound that echoed through the forest, a cry of sorrow, of defiance, and of hope. It was a howl for all the wolves that had come before me, for all those who had fought to survive in this world. It was a howl for the forest, for the creatures that called it home, and for the future. It's not too late. We can still save the forest. We can still protect the wolves, the wildlife, and the ecosystems that are vital to our survival. But we must act now. The destruction caused by humans is real, and it's happening faster than we realize. We cannot afford to wait. The time to protect what is left of our natural world is now. We must speak up for the forest, for the animals, for the wolves. If we don't, we risk losing everything that makes this world worth saving. The wolves' future is in our hands, and together, we can ensure that their howl is not silenced forever.